Hello everyone and welcome back to Nordvik. This is episode 8 and today we're gonna be working on really what was on the other side of the road from where we worked on last episode. There was quite a, not a large spot, but it was a vacant lot on the other side that we need to fill in, and that is the plan in this episode. We're starting off with some very nice views from actually where we built in episode 2, where we built this small farming community on the edge of the map. I have turned the brightness of my game a tiny bit up to emphasize that there actually is summer right now. And it's a little bit brighter, and the sun also almost never sets. Depends on where you are, but we are probably fairly up north, so you could imagine that we do get a lot of sunshine, a lot of the sun, even at night. As usual, we built something between episodes. I decided to fill in some gaps also, but a little bit further away from the city. But I actually started to build also fill in multiple gaps. So I built these two neighborhoods. I also decided to go a little bit more on detailing on these neighborhoods, just a tiny bit, so we're gonna showcase them before we start working on what we're supposed to be working on in this episode. I have a little bit older building here that used to be a house, but is now turned into a restaurant, and you also got outdoor seating on the lawn right here. I also wanted to do a little bit special up here because first of all they have the houses up here very close to the water, and also they got some incredible views, so I decided to build these two mansions up here. Very nice looking houses, definitely someone very rich living here. They also have their private marina, if you might call it that. Definitely a private place for them to have their boats. Also have some paths going down to the marina, and also this very cool custom staircase going up to the mansion further up, and also detailing the marina as well with some sofas you can see there and some chairs, and everything is underneath a glass ceiling, which is quite cool. So this is probably the right now at least the most expensive places to live in Nordvik. Those two houses, the two most expensive homes, and as you can see here, the view that you can see is probably one of the reasons why it is so expensive. It's a great view over the fjord and the mountains in the background. But what we're going to be working on today is this little area, and we're going to fill it in with a huge shopping mall, as well as some very modern condos that we're going to be working on later in this episode. If you're wondering what kind of shopping mall this is, I think it's called the Wilhelmshaven Center, which is very difficult to say. I don't think it's based on a real life shopping mall, but if you're wondering exactly what it is, you can go into my description, and I have my collection there. So I have it in one of my many collections that that has every single asset and every single mod and every single prop that I am using in this series. But what I really like about this shopping mall is how big it is, as well as it has a parking garage with it, and the parking garage is built in a similar style, and it's actually functional. So you will see cars being parked on top of the parking garage, which is very cool. I also spent a little bit time on this custom interchange in the back here, on the back in the back of the shopping mall. The road that goes between the mall itself and the parking garage, I think that will be a busy road for buses once I start working on public transport, because there's not too many cars driving here. It's not the quickest route to anywhere. So, but it is parallel to the main road that we have going through the city. So I think it would be a nice place to have buses or multiple bus routes going through here. But I won't be working on that in this episode. But I did want to work a little bit on this custom interchange, and I also have downloaded the node control mod, if that's the name, and you can see me working a little bit on it and trying to figure out what is what. And it's I have to say, it is a fantastic mod, there's no doubt about that, and there's probably a lot of cool things you can do that I don't know of yet, but hopefully eventually I'll start to figure it out and I can create even more realistic interchanges. But then again, I don't want to spend too much time working on these things. But definitely in areas where we're gonna have a lot of focus, I will continue trying to make them seem at least very much realistic. And I'm going over seemingly all of the crossings and everywhere on the roads with the I think it's called a road marking tool, which I have had for a while, but I haven't really used it. But yeah, I went a little bit crazy and worked on some curbs, for example, creating some custom ones, and yeah, getting a little bit more uniqueness into this area. And I'm pretty sure when it comes to this mod as well, I'm only scratching the surface of what is really possible. But in order to figure out how mods work, in my opinion, the best way to do it isn't by, for example, watching someone who's giving out a tutorial, for example. The best way is actually just doing it yourself and just try and see what happens. Just you learn so much by failing, and you learn so much by just trying it out. So that's what I'm really doing. I'm just trying to figure out what buttons do what. So it's not too crazy. I just went a little bit quiet in the beginning, and hopefully eventually I might do some more cool stuff. But now we're working on the front side of the shopping mall. Decided to pop down some decals in the front, create a nice entrance at least in the what will be the main entrance to this mall, and also working on the parking lot in the front. It will also have a rather small parking lot, because most people would probably park in the parking garage as well, so it wouldn't be really needed to have a lot of parking in the front as well. But I decided to also place down a pathway going parallel to the main road, because the road that is going right through the, right next to the stadium, there's no way pedestrians can walk on it because it is a highway. So there's not a lot of people walking around here, and I didn't quite figure that out at first. So I'm happy that I did, because you're probably going to see it in the ending cinematics. There is a ton of people walking on this path that I just placed down. It's absolutely crazy actually, because a lot of people probably used to drive to the high school that is right next to the stadium, and maybe they didn't even went at all because it was too far away. But now, I mean, it's packed, completely packed with high school students all going to the high school, and of course someone's also going to the mall. And it would be a very nice location for the mall. I would imagine it to be very popular, very busy. It's right next to the main road going through the city. It's right opposite of the largest high school in the region, which means they will be probably packed during lunch. There will probably be like a food court in there that will be swarmed at around noon every single weekday by hungry students. And it's also right next to the stadium itself, which is a somewhat of a landmark, and you might call it somewhat of a tourist attraction as well, because it's quite big, quite large. Decided to detail somewhat heavily on the front side of this shopping mall. Put some fences up around the parking lot area, as well as making sure that people could be walking from the path right into the parking lot instead of having to walk all the way around. This mall itself attracts a few people. It is regarded as a unique building, so there will be tourists visiting here. But I also went ahead and placed down these blocks, these commercial blocks, at every single entrance of this mall to mimic that there actually is. This is one huge commercial building, so we do get a lot of people going to this shopping mall and all of its many entranceways to go shopping. So it's not just a shopping mall on the surface, but it actually also functions like a shopping mall, which is probably what I enjoy the most when it comes to working on Nordvik. Is that not only does it look and feel realistic, but it also functions. For example, every time I work with PO, which is quite rare, but I do it sometime. Like for example, I turn a building into PO, I always make sure to place down one of these commercial blocks or residential blocks inside of it, inside of the empty building, to still emphasize that this is actually still a operational store, or so there's still people living here. Because if you just fill a city with procedural objects, it might look amazing, but there's no one there, because where will they work, where will they shop, where will they live? So I think it's quite important to still focus on the game mechanics and trying to get people actually visiting these areas, because that's when it gets the most realistic, when you get movement and when you get people visiting these places that you've been working quite hard at, trying to get the best results. The parking lot in the front is just decals, so I went over with some and filled in a few spots at least with some prop vehicles, and I also went ahead and placed down some logos on the front, or signs what kind of stores you might find inside. And also I think these also came when I downloaded the shopping mall of the Steam Workshop. There are some stores that I'm pretty sure you can't find in Scandinavia, but most of them are stuff you can find either in Norway or Sweden, Finland or Iceland, or probably even Denmark. So still sort of makes sense. What I'm working on now is the apartment area. I had this spot which I didn't quite know what to do with around here. I thought I could just fill it in with regular suburbs, but I wanted to make it a little bit more unique, so this area will be totally filled with quite large apartment blocks, also very new apartment blocks. And that also further emphasizes what I was talking about in the last episode, which is that this area probably used to be quite an industrial area, or it's not a lot of special things happening out here. Maybe it was a lot of farmland, but lately as the city expanded, they needed, for example, more room for housing, and I would probably imagine that where I'm placing down these apartments, it would used to be just farmlands, but I believe the city probably bought the farm and sold it to realtors, who then again made these apartments. And I created two neighborhoods, and all of them consisted of the same kind of buildings. These buildings right here, they are made by, I believe, Klus or Clus or whatever, CLUS. Most of my roads, and actually just most of the networks that I have in the city, is made by him. So I know whenever he posts something new on the workshop, I know it's Klus. And these apartment blocks, or these condos, they're really amazing. They have so much detail, and you can't actually see it, but there actually is a parking garage underneath all of these condos that you can see through tiny windows by ground level, which is just this tiniest of detail that very few other asset creators have. So definitely check them out. They're all built in the same style, but I spliced some together to give them more of a unique look. And I also didn't splice them I didn't put all of the apartments that close together, because I still wanted some open green space between these apartments to make it a little bit nicer for the people living there. I also had this key that I placed down on the going parallel next to the road, just to make the slope a little bit more natural. And I decided to place down a path going really on top of the key, and I chose just a path at random here. And after I was done with making sure that the path was going straight on top of the key, I used a invisible path to just replace the current path that I had. So it still functions as a path, but you can't really see it. So you do see people walking on top of this key, because they're walking right next to the path, but then again you can't see the path, which just another tiny detail that sort of makes me happy, and probably wouldn't be noticed by anyone, but it's nice to get a little bit of movement on top of there as well, because it's quite a large key, quite wide, so it would be kind of weird if there wasn't anything happening on top of it. So yeah, just a tiny little detail, and creating a staircase as well going down. And there is actually quite a lot of movement on top of these keys once I was done building it and started the simulation again. The other neighborhood that I worked on is another set of houses, another set of condos that I downloaded from the workshop, but there's quite a lot of them, and they are different when it comes to their height and their width. So they're all come in different sizes, but they all still sort of look the same and built in the same style. So you can probably imagine that this entire area that I'm building these residential buildings at, as I already mentioned, used to be a farm, but that was bought up by probably by the city council and then sold to 2 different realtors. Where the first realtor built the first block that I worked on, the grey looking ones, and the other one built this one that I'm working on right now. And I think this is almost common almost everywhere, I think, not just in Scandinavia, but literally everywhere, where these newer apartment blocks, they all sort of feel the same and also sort of built the same, but they just look slightly different from each other. But it's just something that always is the same, you know. You see all of them are built they're built taller. They don't focus a lot on building just wide, but they want to build taller, get more stories in, which means they can get more apartments in, and basically just make it more dense. And when it comes to environment, density is really good, because you can fit more apartments in, you can fit more homes in a single small area than if you were to build, for example, just suburbs with single houses meant for 1 or maybe 2 families. So a little bit more density, and they also have a lot of green space next to them. They also have very large windows, which is quite nice, because that saves a lot on the electricity, because you don't need to turn on the lights all the time, because there's a lot of natural light, that they call it, that comes in and really just not only saves your wallet from paying too much on electricity, but also, once again, it helps a little bit on the environment. And more often than not, these apartment blocks are also built with the sun and how it on where it goes, with that in mind. That means that these modern apartments, that they're for example, their windows in the living room are faced towards an area where the sun is throughout the day. So you don't usually get the evening sun, but you get the sun maybe all the way from around 10 in the morning to maybe 8 in the evening. And that is to further help out not to use more electricity than you possibly would have liked to do. Now this episode is a little bit shorter than what you're probably already used to. It's still all the way up to, I think it's close to half an hour, which honestly is still quite long, but you know, I have been making videos up to 40 minutes, 50 minutes, well over an hour as well, so yeah, but I am posting more often, I'm posting more regularly, and I can't really create episodes all the way up to an hour every single week. that's a little bit too much. But I'm really happy with how everything turned out. I'm happy that we filled in this area, and we're basically just 1 or 2 episodes away from finishing up the city of Nordvik, which is quite incredible. Now we can probably start thinking about the rest of the region, because this series isn't just about the city, it's about this entire region. So it's great to be almost done with this, because I'll have a lot of plans for the other areas that you can find on this map. I really liked how the front of the shopping mall, how that turned out. I liked that it was quite open, and really gave some breathing space between the stadium and the shopping mall, so it feels more, a little bit more open, a lot less claustrophobic than it otherwise might have been. And I also like the two neighborhoods that were placed down with the modern condos. Let me know down below if of these areas, the condos, if it is familiar to you. You know, maybe you live in one of them, or do you constantly see them popping up in your city? Do let me know in the comments down below. And also, just general feedback is always appreciated. Follow me on Twitter for more screenshots from the series, and also join my Discord, where there are also screenshots. In there is more teasers. I post really a lot more work in progress pictures than on Twitter, for example. I also host some naming competitions. For example, the stadium that we built in the last episode. I didn't know what to name it, so I just asked in the Discord. I got a lot of suggestions, and then I just chose one of them. So be sure to join that one as well. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and consider subscribing for even more of this sort of content. I would like to thank you all for watching. Hope to see you soon. Bye for now.
Thank you.